The purpose of today's video is to show you Mr. Deery's annotation process and kind of talking through some of the things that I'm thinking, considering, and working through while writing. What I want to do here is I'm going to have a timer running to give you an idea of how long this actually takes so you can see how my pace is. I'm going to ask some of the questions. I might write notes on myself, and I might abbreviate those questions just for the sake of time here. But what I want to do is show you my process of going through a two-sided essay. It's set at 1.5 spacing, and it's about a 12-minute speech originally one given, I believe. So without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. Right off the bat, date is in 2003, Senate floor, so I'm assuming that this is going to be a senator at the very least. So right here, I'm going to call this American Ethos, because it's talking about the great and beautiful country, its roots, gloried in its wisdom. A lot of the language here is flowery, and it's trying to build up a sense of character, credibility in this character. And assuming this is a senator, this is going to be a great here. But, okay, so we have a pivot word. Pivot. But today, I weep for my country. I've watched the events recently. So we have a contrast here. The good and the bad. I'm sorry if this is a little hard to read. Trying to do it on camera is awkward. Instead of reasoning with those compare and contrast again, showing the same model. So this is criticisms of America's actions. Okay. So I'm noticing a common thread right now about ethos and identity. So I'm going to write that down here. Okay, this seems like a pivot point because it's talking about America's image thus far, and then talking about this war being a war of not a war of necessity, but a war of choice. So I'm going to right here. I'm going to say pivot again. Okay, this whole paragraph is evidence to help prove that claim right there. War of choice, no credible contact, that goes to there. Worldwide group, that goes to there. So again, we're seeing this connection here. This is more evidence. Okay, so here is a supporting argument. Put supporting evidence down. And what's doing here is talking about this tangible villain, acknowledging he's a villain, the wrong villain. So that is deck clearing. Boom. So this is going to be Department of Homeland Security. That's just a little context I'm aware of. So a list of rhetorical questions, counter arguments. I'm going to write down. Okay. American ethos coming back up. Okay. All right, so just under 5 minutes right now. I finished here. I'm on this last line because it's kind of a closing jab. I'm at 5 minutes. So what I want to do now is I want to review my notes real quick, and I'm going to look for consistencies. I'm going to see American ethos, compare and contrast right here. The pivot of weeping. So great country, bad. Compare and contrast, arrogance. And what I'm going to focus on here is this line right here, not a war of necessity, but a war of choice. And I'm going to say that this is all. So I'm going to talk about compare and contrast being about necessity and choice. And I'm going to do that through the American identity. So choice, choice, choice. I'm going to call this evidence 2 just for reference purposes for me. Evidence. So what I want to do in the next 90 seconds or so is do just a rough outline. So I want to acknowledge rhetorical situation. Probably the Senate's going to be the audience. What was it? Okay. So I'm going to use this space right here for an outline. Normally I have more space, but let's go. I'm going to open up with a coin illustration. 2 sides of a coin, good side, bad side. Then I'm going to move into good US paragraph 1. I'll reference that. Bad. Multiple paragraphs. I'm going to definitely include 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. Okay, his purpose. My old notes here. Highlight's probably the wrong word. Highlight. Sorry, you can't see that right there. Methods, compare and contrast through American identity. is peace, bad is war. So in 9.5 minutes, what I've done is I've gone through this entire essay, pointing out multiple instances where I'm noticing little things here, leaving myself little notes along the way. One thing I should have done definitely is, actually, I'm going to stop that just to show the time here. So I did that in about 9 minutes and 30 seconds. I should have numbered my paragraphs. Normally, you'll have this all on one page. It's rarely to be flipping back and forth like that. But when I'm working my way through, big quote, big identity, and then kind of collecting my thoughts here. Okay, got a closing jab there, but I know it's compare and contrast. I see they're doing that on necessity and choice. I see it's American identity. I have 4 examples of choice here. I'm acknowledging the rhetorical situation before I'm even going to talk about it because this is something I'm going to need to talk about. And then finally, what I'm going to do in the back or on the front is lay out my essay. So I'm going to open up with a coin illustration about the good and bad side of a coin. The best side of America's coin is going to be all this kind of language you see in the first paragraph, but what is our bad? It is where we are no longer the benevolent peacekeeper, where we are arrogant, where we are focused on a tangible villain, and we're wrong that we have become a nation that ignores our friends. The bad side of the coin seems much heavier than the good, and that's what Senator Byrd is trying to do here when he's trying to highlight our choice to go to war. And he does this through comparison and contrast through primarily the development of American identity. So trying to show that when we're at our best, we are going for peace and diplomacy. When we are at our worst, we're going and ending up at war. So it's a take on it that I'm not in love with, but I think can very easily be done as an essay that's a 6 out of 6. Other methods of approaching this, just for some kind of thought here, you could talk about development of character. You could talk about it as a scathing rebuke of what the American policy had been up to that point. I do like the offensive approach there of going on a rebuke and saying, look, this is all just incredibly rushed and not done well, and kind of using these paragraphs down here, evidence 1 and evidence 2 in the next page, to highlight this choice here. But he is definitely critical. His position in office affords him a certain amount of credibility on that. And without further ado, I would say this is my approach to writing an essay. So hopefully you've learned something from this, giving you an idea or an approach of doing this. What I would suggest is write down any questions you have, see what you have in common, and realize this is not the way. This is just a way of doing it. Thanks a bunch for watching. See you all in class.